Welcome back to another episode of the Brew podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, Mr. Cool Beans. It is Tuesday. I don't even remember today's date. What is it, March 11th, 12th? I'm losing track of days now. All right, so it's March 11th. All right, I'm glad that you guys are plugged in to another episode with me as I navigate this whole roller coaster of my journey in health. I always want to start off with my disclaimer. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not medical advice. Please, peeps, please consult your doctor if you have any medical concerns, all right? Anything that I do share here is strictly from my experiences. I don't want you guys to think that I'm Dr. Mo or anything like that, all right? Please check with your doctors if you have any medical questions as far as anything that you get from here in regards to your health journey, okay? Again, my purpose for this podcast, and if it is your first time, is to bring advocacy and awareness to chronic illnesses, more specifically for me in my case, CKD or kidney disease. I also cover the importance of mental health, men's health, and everything my journey has to offer. I hope that by the end of every episode in my podcast that you're able to walk away with whatever golden nugget you get from my journey to help you navigate your own. Please and please always remember this. No journey will ever look the same, all right? But we can always learn from each other and gain great tips on how we can be successful by supporting each other with whatever that we're going through. All right. And then always this episode, every episode, matter of fact, is sponsored by you guys, the listeners. Every single stream, every single download and share helps this podcast go further and further and further into the world. Want to give another big, massive shout out to the peeps in Denmark that are tuning in. I see you guys. I don't know when I'm going to visit Denmark, but I definitely want to, give you guys a big up for that one. You guys are awesome. Thank you for checking in all the time. And yeah, we're going to get it cracking. Shouts out to the people in Florida who are tuning in as well. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, as promised, last time we left off talking about the last episode 3.1, titled it Mental Health in the CKD Journey. And I kind of, navigated the whole gambit of what it's like in the mind of someone who's going through CKD and how stressful it is, some of the thought patterns, some of the things that, we may struggle with. And I decided with this episode now to bring on someone on my show. Yes. I have a guest with me today. I invited my lovely wife. She has been such a strong support. She's an amazing individual. She does a lot of great things outside of the home in the school system, supporting families and children of all ages. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to you my wife, Shauntae Mondesir, who's a mental health specialist, a social worker, actually, and she's here with us now. Hey, what up, Shauntae? Say what's up to the peeps.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, he's fumbling. Yeah, so guys, I just want to preface this whole interview by saying that my wife, she, in regards to the whole CKD journey, she has been, of course, there from the beginning. I mean, there's some stuff that I do share on the Instagram, in regards to, the processes and like some of the stressors that I have and, things that I've picked up along the way. But there are some things that you guys don't see. And I have to say that Shauntae has been there for the full gambit. I mean, she's been there front row and center. Every appointment, she's with me. Every time I'm crying, she's there. Moments where I'm in doubt, she's there. And I'll be honest, man, I believe I've seen another side of this whole thing, and that is the caregivers. I don't think a lot of people understand what it takes to truly be a caregiver to somebody who's facing chronic illness. So our hope today is that Shauntae can give us a clear insight as we have a little conversation on what it's like to be a caregiver. So, Shauntae, why don't you go ahead and tell a little bit about yourself to the peeps? Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, everyone. So, like you said, I guess we've been on this journey for some time now. And I would honestly say, since the beginning of when we got married, we were on this, health journey, babe. I'm not really good at this whole interview.
It's all good, man.
But I'm going to do my best.
You got it. That's all you got to do, son. That's all you got to do. Just go ahead. You was good, too. You was going good.
No,
go ahead.
you clearly asked me to tell people about myself, and I'm on this whole health journey already.
Duh, you jumping
Um,
the gun. Chill out. Go ahead.
I really am. I apologize. I got ADHD. So just a little bit about myself. So, been a social worker for a number of years now. I would say about 10, almost 13 years, I would say, just in the field of social work
Hmm.
and mental health. And I really love it because it just kind of, it it builds towards who, who I wanted to be there for me when I was younger. And so I
Mm.
kind of grew into the person that I wanted to be, or I wanted, um, in terms of when I was younger. And so being that person that I am right now, I know that I can be that person for other kids in the school system or kids in general.
Right, right,
So that is pretty much what I enjoy doing. And then, of course, in kind of ties into my own personal life as well. So I just don't do social work Monday through Friday, but I pretty much live it. I breathe it. Any advocacy or support that I can provide, not just to my husband, but to anybody that I come along across or that just needs help or listening ear, things of that sort. I'm always that kind of person that will drop anything to help somebody. And because I'm hoping that, I can be of impact to them. And the other heavy side of it is that you never know when you're going to see that person again.
right,
So you always want to be that positive light to somebody. The Bible always tells us to be a light. And
right,
so I just always want to make sure that I'm exemplifying that. And if I'm not, that's not Shauntae. So that's
right.
just, in a nutshell, that's who I am. I've just always been that person.
Right, right. And let me just remind you guys, she did say her husband, which is me, this guy talking right here. So, hey, she's off limits. I just let y'all know. All right, because some of you guys might be trying to like get her handles and stuff like that, trying to look her up. All right, just mind. All right? Let me stop. Yeah. But yeah, that's dope. And me being I would say a former teacher in the classroom, we kind of balanced our lives around the school system, so we kind of know what it's like to be a support to students and families simultaneously. Just because I may have a student who needs supports, and I could probably refer them to the social worker, which would be Shantae's position in the school, and then we would kind of like complete tasks around the family to help support them with whatever that they need. Mine's more on the educational side, and hers being on the mental social side of life. So kudos to you. Thank you again for making time for joining me today again. It being the first episode where I have a interviewee, I find it just an honor to have you with me. So I just want to say thank you again, for taking time out of your Netflix binging and your book reading
Oh my,
and your studying
yes.
and
And
typing
my
up notes.
spring breaking.
Yeah, whatever, right? So you're here with your boy. So we're gonna go ahead and we're not gonna burn too much time. We're gonna jump right into the whole scenario. We're gonna jump into the interview. And this is where we kind of drill in the whole CKD and mental health saga about how hard it is. I think, everybody knows, what stress feels like. Everybody knows what depression may feel like. But when it comes to like a illness that can potentially be detrimental or can be fatal, people don't understand, or they may have an idea of what it's like to probably go through that because they know ultimately death might come around the corner, but then death might not come at all. But then there's this idea, hey, we got to walk through this whole journey and not know what to expect around the corner because anything can happen. So I know I've shared it on the first couple episodes, but I don't know from your perspective, your POV. Why don't you go ahead and share with the peeps on what it was like when you first found out about my diagnosis?
That's a really heavy and loaded questions because I just it has a lot of emotions, a lot of trauma tied to that.
Mm,
When um I can backtrack to, I guess, the moment when we were trying to figure out your blood pressure concerns. Like, we went to several doctors to try to figure out why your blood pressure kept going up.
Yeah.
And at that time, we were just told, like, take this medication, that medication. And, we were a little bit younger. And yeah, some people might be like, you guys are still young, but we
We're
were in
like
our 20s.
we're like mid-20s. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But it's still uneducated and uninformed about what medication would really be effective.
Mm.
And so looking at it from, I would say 10 years, 10 years of this to now, it, it breaks my heart, because sometimes I feel like on my own part, I wish that the way, as strong as I am now, or as bold as I am right now, I wish that I had that boldness and more advocacy that I have now to be able to be that for you in the beginning, so I can, put my foot down and tell them we want this instead of that. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
Or refer us to this person instead of this doctor. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and we gotta, we can give ourselves some slack. I mean, we were young, we didn't know much, and we were scared. We didn't know what we were
Yeah.
walking into, and you have the whole concept of, like we have our families didn't necessarily they were not necessarily like health gurus or knew how to navigate health, and because we're just living, we're just trying to live and try to do what everybody else told us to do, become something. Sorry for interrupting. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I just that's one part that I still have to try to give myself grace on, because I guess I'm the type of person, like, if you're in need of something, I'm gonna try to figure it out to the best of my knowledge. It's just who I am.
Hmm.
Especially with finding resources that would fit your needs. I would just make sure I do the best that I can with that. And I don't think that I did know as much as I do now. So when the whole incident happened, with finding out that there is a mass that might be causing blockage, and then there was also the factor of the pee, the urination still sitting on the kidney. I don't know. I remember
Right.
that term,
Just being
what it's
septic,
called.
to some
Yeah,
degree.
that kind of blew my mind. I was like, wait, what? So he's not really peeing as much as he should.
Mm.
And so that kind of threw me off, especially at your age. I'm thinking, our body's young and we should be able to manage, but because of how much your blood pressure had gone up with the medication, it still wasn't doing anything at all. And
Yeah.
so that threw me for a loop, and I just, like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. That was
Yeah.
a big, 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 big roadblock, because I'm the type of person, I'm very solution focused.
Right.
And so when I can't figure out something, it's gonna be very hard for me to sleep, especially if you're somebody, that I care about. I need to figure out how to make sure that you're gonna be okay. And if I can't figure out, it's gonna be hard for me to sleep. So of course, losing sleep,
Yeah, boy. Not enough
losing
melatonin in the
sanity.
world.
Yeah, going through one bottle of melatonin, it still didn't work, you
Oh.
know. And then we're not even going to talk about just being a new mom in all of that.
Oh, yeah, all that
So
ties in there.
it ties into, being a new mom, and then finding about the health concerns that you have. It just was like, this is not a good setup at all.
Yeah, it's not the flex. It's definitely not the flex.
No.
Um, and just kind of wanting to, tie everything in. I guess we can jump into the first question because, I think,
Hmm.
a lot of times, when folks think, married couples walking through a challenge or a health crisis, they think, it's always holding hands, and yes, that's definitely what it is. But I know there are times where, our emotional well-being is definitely impacted, like you mentioned. So I guess my first kickoff question would be, how has how has my diagnosis, right? My CKD diagnosis at stage 4, like off the bat, we skip steps stage 1, 2, 3, and jump right at 4. How has my diagnosis impacted your emotional well-being? I know you mentioned, not being able to sleep and always thinking, but what other ways has it impacted your emotional well-being?
I just give you a picture driving to work,
Hmm.
getting to the parking lot,
Right.
and not being able to go into the building because I just a thought or something that reminds me of it triggers me, and I'm in the parking lot for about an hour crying
Mm.
because I
Yeah.
can't believe this is happening right now. Um, like it's just not something I saw in the books at all, and
Yeah.
I would let my boss know, like, hey, I've had my moments, and she'll be okay with it. Like, if you have to sit and just kind of reflect, go right ahead and do it because we're not robots, you know.
Right. 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 Right.
We, like I can say that I've done that several times. Or if it's midday, or if it's just on my way home, I need to pull over somewhere. I just pull over and I just reminisce, or I just kind of look through, or sometimes Google pops up with those pictures. Oh, I remember a year ago, remember 10 years ago,
Google is
those pictures
notorious.
come up, and those moments, I look at your picture and I'm like, we were fine
Yeah.
then, and now look at what's happening at this moment, and it just breaks me, you
Yeah.
know. It really does. But
Uh,
I think for me, I go through those roller coasters a lot, and it is grieving. It's grieving because one of the biggest thing I'll say, because I'm like, I don't have any other person that I know right now that I can relate to
right.
um in my age range,
Hmm. Yeah.
dealing with all of
Yeah.
this all at the same time. So it's hard for me to connect with people. Not to say that I can't share my experience,
Right. Right.
but
Right.
it's hard for me to connect because sometimes I would hear somebody in their 60s and saying that they're dealing with that, but you know,
The
they're
age
dealing
gap
with that
is
on the back end of their marriage as
right
opposed to,
in the forefront.
we're at that, we're, we're at
Yeah.
that 10th mark.
We're still on the first page.
And I'm like, okay, this is a setup for some kind of movie or something.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like right off the back, it's two fades in the squabble, as they would say. you know, um, I get that. If I could chime in real quick, like it's like when you mentioned the whole relating, I think even that, and I might be jumping the gun a little bit with the questionnaires, but I think it's important, like you said, like we're facing a lot of this stuff in the brink of our marriage. I mean, 10 years is nothing compared to what most people have, you know. But then, when we think about all the different things that we've probably gone through, and then this coming into the picture, it's not like we can't relate to people, or it's not like we can't befriend people, but it's just really hard to connect because we're walking through something totally bewildering, whereas other people are probably not even tasting this to this degree. And a lot of times, if we can be honest, I don't think sometimes we even want to bring this stuff up because we don't want to dampen the vibe for somebody else. Here we are going through this. So we kind
Yeah,
of
it's true.
we kind of like internalize this stuff because we don't want to be the rain on anyone else's parade. So it is hard, and we wonder, if anybody considers certain things. So it kind of even attacks the friendship dynamics to some degree. It's not that we don't have friends, or it's not like we don't have people that we can call or talk to. It's just that sometimes, it's hard for us to really be who we are because we don't know how accepting or how open people are to hearing what we're going through. I could be wrong. I don't know if I'm wrong, but at least that's what I think.
I
Uh,
think your point is valid. I think it's valid.
yeah. So, but then another thing too. Like the whole picture of you driving to work and pulling up to the parking lot and then just like not wanting to go in. That's very. It feels very debilitating. Um, and mind you, this is my first time seeing that picture. Thanks for sharing that. I just want to say, but then that goes to ask the next question, like, how do you cope with the stress and emotional strain, of being married to somebody with CKD, and simultaneously being a caregiver? Like, I know that has to have some immense amount of stress to it.
Uh, you know, I think when we set our vows,
Hmm.
when we set our vows
Hey, just so you know,
over
I don't have
what,
tissue. Just
10
so you
years
know.
ago, when we said that for better or for worse, I meant it.
Hmm.
I
Dang,
meant
here we
it.
go.
You know what I mean? So to me, that, a lot of people will come to me and be like, man, I don't know how you handle it. I don't know, all of these I don't knows. And
Hmm.
I'm just like, then what was the vows for? You
Right.
know what I mean? It's not to paint a picture of everything's gonna be all roses and daisies and stuff. Like, there's gonna be some stuff, but that's what has made us stand
Hmm.
so strong together. Like, I always tell you about picturing like a tree and how it's rooted. You know what I mean? Like, even, Psalm 1, where it talked about being rooted,
Yeah.
by the rivers of water. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
a tree is not just there. Like, it has roots, and these roots have been growing deep into the soil. And so
Hmm.
when the wind and the rain and all that stuff comes, it's not going to be easily shaken.
Right. Right.
And as I said before in the beginning, like, when in my early 20s, I didn't have this strength that I have now. Um, and sometimes I look at myself, I'm like, God, I don't know how I'm doing this, but I'm asking you to keep me looking at you and giving me wisdom. I always ask God for wisdom and discernment with everything that I do.
Right.
And when He allowed us to be parents, there was something that kind of switched on in me. And then from there on, it was like, it just became even more stronger, you know, and I, I, I don't, this is how it is. Like, until you experience it, it's still hard for me to phrase the strength that I have right now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like what Bob Marley said.
Until you go through
You don't know how strong you are until you put in hot water. You know.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's real. That's real. Oh man. You know, I, when you talk about going through it,
Mhm, mhm.
I know that there's a lot in the going through. Um, and a lot of people, when they think kidney disease, they think you're just sitting around, just going to see a doctor, doing checkups, and they drawing blood. But there's a lot more to it. I can fire off a whole list of things that I do on a weekly. Like we both know every week there's some kind of appointment, there's some kind of event, and there's some off days. But for sure there's some stuff going on. But I think as for you, with the many different appointments, if you can describe that from your perspective, like how do you how do you manage? Like, I know for me, I'll get a text message from Tampa General, or I'll get I'll get an appointment update. I need to do this. But how do you, in your caregivingness, and I'm gonna circle back on the caregiving topic, but how do you manage the appointments? How do you manage the making sure I take medications? What's that process like? What's the I don't know, what's the take? How do you jump on board it and do that? You know what I mean? Like, how do you?
So I, you already know, I'm a planner.
Okay. Yeah, yeah,
Everything that I do, I hate last minute stuff. It
right.
just gets under my skin, especially when it's in regards to health, especially nowadays,
Yeah,
with us. So, like, I'll give you a prime example. If I have a whole bunch of meetings, reports, different interviews that I got to do with parents, and they gave me a certain deadline, I try to go before those deadlines. So it'd be like 30 days before the deadline,
all
just
right,
because I know your appointment is coming up in such and such a time.
right,
So if you're telling me you got to see Dr. So-and-so in April, I make sure my stuff is done way ahead of time so that there's no hindrance when it comes to my job, and I can ask somebody to cover me in a way that's not going to inconvenience them.
right,
So not only do I look out to make sure that you're good, I make sure that I don't inconvenience anybody at work so it meshes well. And then in addition to that, make sure that we have everything set up so that our, Brian's needs can be met, which is our son. You know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah.
So
Big ups to Brian.
I don't, yeah, I try to make sure everything is to the T, and sometimes it's not going to be perfect,
Right,
but the way that our life is, I prefer to just plan ahead and make sure things are organized. I have a planner for home. I have a planner for work. I have stuff on Google Calendar. So I'm very particular about my time,
right, right.
and I don't, my hands are not idle.
Gotcha.
They're
Yeah,
never idle.
I
And
could attest to that.
that might be, that might be boring for some people, but because of how our life is right now, I prefer to do that. And that gives me a sense of peace because once again, I go back to asking God to give me wisdom. Should
Right.
I do this right now? Should I do that? Even when it comes to taking time off from work, I make sure that everything is lined up properly so that I can go to the appointments in Tampa with
Yeah,
you. You know what
yeah.
I mean? So that there's no gaps with learning about what kind of services that you're getting there. Or if I need to drive you back from a surgery or something like that, I'm available. There's nothing that's gonna block me from making sure that you're taken care of.
Awesome. And I appreciate your diligence and matter of fact, I guess it's like a buildup, right? Like you had to become that person. You had to become that very organized individual so that, now that this came about out of nowhere, like you can utilize those skills in order to kind of support me in that regard. And I thank you for that. I really appreciate you for that. Now let's go a little bit deeper.
I appreciate you too.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Trust me, trust me. Hey, look. Okay. But let's go a little bit deeper though. Let's we talked about the formalities of what it's like on the day to day and what it takes to manage certain things and coping. Let's talk about the relationship dynamics. Because it's one thing to have a friend that's going through chronic illness, but to be again tied and married to someone who is going through CKD or any chronic illness. All right, this is not just CKD parade here. This is some people have cancer. Some people have other chronic illnesses. Some people have diabetes. Some people they even have brain tumors or just deadly illnesses that can take them out at any time. The relationship. How has our relationship through my diagnosis changed? Or rather, how has your relationship with me changed since my CKD diagnosis? Has it changed? I hope not. I hope, but I know it's not the same. It hasn't been the same. But just how has
It,
it changed?
when people look at change, they think that change is a bad thing.
I know, but
Change is
changes.
change is always change is always happening.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
facts. Yeah.
The weather change, the time changes, plants changes.
Speaking of
You
time
know,
change, how are you adjusting with this time
I,
change, bro? Because
I'm not adjusting. I'm
it's
not.
it's struggle McGee out here, yo. Like
I want my hour back. I
woo.
want it back.
Well, that 7 o'clock wake up is something else, bro. But yeah, I'm
I want
sorry.
it back. All
Go
right.
ahead.
That's what I'm saying. Change is always happening, no matter how we don't want things to change. It's going to change.
Right.
But I think for us, I can honestly say that it's changed in a way that has brought us closer
Mm,
together, in the sense of understanding how to love and serve each other.
yeah, that's
You know
big.
what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
It it slowed down things. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, how is it slowed down when you got all these appointments?"
yeah.
But the drive on the way there, we have deep conversations about things or random conversations. You know what I mean? But it's helped us to learn each other more,
Mm,
learn how to communicate with each other on a different level. Um, Figuring out how can we be more of a helpmate towards each other. You know
right.
what I mean? It shows us how to grow in kindness, like genuine concern and care for each other. And those are things that you're supposed to do when you're married.
Yeah.
However, it's like a delicate type of thing. You know, when you just get flowers and you don't want to mess up the petal and you want to make sure you put them in the glass
Yeah, put a little bit of
vase
sugar in there.
properly, and you want to, make sure everything is.
Oh yeah.
That's how I see the marriage. That's the change I see. There's more delicateness, the more, you have more patience,
Mm,
and that's that's the change that I definitely see in terms of us.
wow,
Change
that's
is inevitable.
yeah, that's dope because I think a lot of times people think that with chronic illness steps into the picture, you would think that the relationship kind of takes a nosedive for the worse, but you're saying that our relationship has blossomed into a more delicate, beautiful situation where we take the time and we come closer to each other. So in essence, like this whole situation has made our marriage more meaningful, if you will. Got that right?
Yeah, yeah, it has, and it takes a different type of person to do that, because you could have somebody that is like, okay, all right, you can figure out your appointments, or you can figure out, things on your own. But I think because we started out really as being a team,
Mm,
even when we were dating, the now 10 years in, there has to be some kind of growth, right?
right, for sure.
That's a change. Growth is change as well. So it's almost like we've been married 30 something years. So now we know each other.
Oh
We
yeah.
know what works and what doesn't. Um, if I got to go to work earlier, and you have the energy, you're able to drop Brian off at daycare. You
Hmm.
guys have that bond together in the mornings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or sometimes you wake up early, you make my breakfast. You know what I mean? It flows,
Yeah, it
and
flows.
we work together. It flows. Or if you're not feeling well, I know I got to make sure that your food is set up, your soup is ready. So when you get up, you're good. You're not worrying about that. Like, I think ahead and I make sure that your needs are met. You think ahead so that my needs are met, and it just goes hand in hand. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Shout out to the soup gang. All right, the soups be fire. All right, sorry. So, and this next question here, you know, I you said something, when we talk about that energy, on my Instagram, I talked about the spoon theory and how energy levels can play a big impact on folks who are struggling with chronic illnesses. And a lot of times I feel like as a caregiver, I think you honorarily tap into that spoon theory thing as well, because there is so much more demand on the caregivers to be who they are for the person who needs to be tended to. And let me just say this, I may not necessarily be, laid out all the time needing, room service every single second. I'm able to get up. I'm able to walk around. And some days I'm not able to. And that's where she steps in. But I will say this for the caregivers out there, like it does take a lot of energy to be pretty much four people simultaneously for one person and yourself. Like, it's so much more. So that spoon theory topic, if you don't know anything about the spoon theory, or if you're interested, like look up the spoon theory. It pretty much highlights every single thing when it comes to energy expenditure on a day-to-day basis for not just, I would say not just folks with chronic illness, but for even caregivers, folks who are in the front line seeing folks with, their loved ones go through, chronic illnesses. Which goes into my next question. And I'm just going to say this, this one we got to keep PG-13. Okay. We got to keep this one clean because, we don't know if little kids are in the car with their parents listening to this podcast right now, but here's the question. Yeah, trust me. No, I'm just saying, but here it is though. It's how do you, from your stance, how do you maintain intimacy and connection while dealing with the demands of being a caregiver for me? Remember PG-13, but intimacy doesn't have to mean that, for you dirty-minded people out there. But for you though, how do you maintain that? It's not dirty. You're right. You're absolutely freaking right. It's not dirty. All right, it's not. However though, how do you maintain that level of intimacy and connectedness? I know you touched on some things like, making sure that, my needs are met and vice versa. I do your needs, as far as like food, as far as food is concerned, and as far as like making sure we're good for work, taking care of Brian, but like our us time, our friendship, our, marriage, how do you maintain that?
One of the biggest thing is, we try to do is having heart to heart.
Oh, yes, that right there. Yes, communication.
Because it this journey, it came really fast and abrupt,
Oh yeah.
and it's like taking bits and pieces and trying to process it. Or sometimes we mull over the same thing over and over because we still can't believe this is happening.
Yeah.
And it's just when we put Brian down to sleep, we get to have a heart to heart. Or if I have breaks like this, spring break or a holiday, we go for, just go for walks.
Oh yeah.
I even, what was it when in the warmer months, boat rides.
Oh
Just go take
yeah.
some little boat rides at Mount Dora and just feel the breeze and
Dressed
just sit and enjoy.
like a Nautica commercial.
Yes. So doing things outside of the norm builds our intimacy big time, because it's not just intimacy is not just in the home. It
Right.
can be built in other areas.
For sure.
Or just send, random love letters or love texts, or letting know how we appreciate each other. I
Yeah.
think that's important because that makes it special. You know what I mean? It makes it like, oh, like he's thinking about me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a given, but it still does make me feel special, or it makes you feel special when I do something out of the norm. That's
Yeah.
not the usual. Buying you sparkling water. I'm like,
Yo,
okay, I
hey,
can take
look,
this off.
CKD peeps. All right, let me drop this commercial real quick. CKD peeps, don't sleep on the sparkling water. All right, do not sleep on that. If we know the nephrologists say we can't have soda because of phosphorus and all that jazz. However, if you want good jazz in your tonsils, pause, bruh, sparkling water is the way to go. And I must add, sugar-free ginger ale. All right, trust me.
Yes.
You cannot miss. You can't miss. All right.
Oh my God. I
Gosh,
think ours is done
yeah,
94.
we might need to go to Publix or something and just fix that, right? Yeah. So okay. So yes, I concur, and I'll even add, as far as the intimacy process, yes, it's the love notes, yes, it's the communication, definitely the heart to hearts, and just spending time with each other. I'll even add in if there's a hobby, that one partakes in, join in with them. Like, there are times where I'm playing video games and you join in with me. Yeah, yes, I do play video games still.
Hmm.
We play video games together. We play water sports. We play soccer in the front yard with our son. Or even if I'm doing some landscaping, I'm cutting grass, you're helping me out. All of those things do help us in that sense of intimacy during this time. Even painting, like the other day, we painted the garage door and, our front door, and just the fact that you were out there with me and I was, just there by myself, that meant a lot. I'm just being honest. I'm just being honest. So that intimacy piece, all the, yeah, I have your matcha next to me. I'm, about to take a sip of that, but,
Please don't drink my matcha.
um, but let's go to the other side of it too. Because we both know it's not just googly eyes and lovey dovey all the time. Okay, and this is where
It's
I'm gonna.
not.
We know. Okay, we know, bruh. We know. Okay, so, and this is where a lot of the weight falls on the person with the diagnosis. I'm gonna preface this by saying that because of the weight of the stress and the grieving of our normalcy or normalness, or the lack of the normality that we used to have, because of how things are changing so fast and we can't keep pace with it at times. A lot of times the diagnosee, we tend to be very short because we can't fathom how everything is changing all at once, and it's almost like the floor is falling up from beneath us. And a lot of times I know myself, when I succumb to the stresses of all of the things that entail CKD, I I lose myself, and I know that I'm losing myself because I know I feel it first, but then, like they say, hurt people hurt people. So I guess the question would be, how do you handle, any conflict that arises from the stress of the illness? Because I know it's there. I know I'm the main, disher out sometimes when it comes. And I'm going to say this. I'm not going crazy. I'm not spazzing out, breaking stuff in the house or anything like that. I don't want you guys to call police or anything. However, I know there are times where I do go into what we call the funk, right? So how do you handle the conflict that arises from the stress of the illness?
So I I have a, s- a strength that is kind of, I can read the room before anything. I can read you before anybody can,
Mm,
and I already know something's up.
mm,
And so that's because that's just who I am. Like I can know when you're good and when you're really not.
right.
And you already know I'm gonna encourage you,
Mm,
even
yeah.
in you're in the darkest of moments. I'm gonna end up being that light because that's just I've always been like that. And I know you might not want to hear it at the moment, like things are gonna work out, things are gonna be fine,
Mm,
you know, and you're like, how? How is it gonna be fine? When all I can tell you is that it is, because God wouldn't have us on this path for no reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There has to be a reason. It's already in the books, because he would have stopped all this from happening. And so everything is here for a reason that I can't fully understand. You can't even understand, and you're dealing with it physically.
I'm in the crooks.
But you know what I mean? But I think for me, I have to try to be as supportive as possible, because it is okay to be frustrated and scared and all the emotions all at once, because this is not what you signed up for. So, all those emotions are valid.
Yeah.
Every last one of them is valid. Because when you were in the hospital last year, January, I'm pretty sure the neighbors heard me screaming out loud and just
waking
heard
up
me
the
screaming,
neighborhood.
just like, God, why is this happening? Like, why? This is not what we wanted.
Yeah.
This is not what we saw coming. So I've had my fair share of not feeling it. Don't even want to talk to nobody, but I still have to check in, right? As I always ask you to do.
Yeah.
You still got to check in. Even if we got to show face and act like everything is okay for that moment.
Right.
I think we still have a role to play as a spouse, as a parent, because one thing we don't want to do is be absent from our role. And then it's kind of like those funny videos that we see on Instagram when the parent wants to break down at that moment. The kid is asking for, a cup of juice or something like that. So you gotta let the tears go back up in your eye, and then you go give the juice and play, and then you go back in the corner and cry.
No, it hurts. It hurts. Yo, let's not sleep on that, bro. It hurt. Okay.
You gotta I'm good. The tears evaporate really fast.
Yo, let me tell you, those moments, dog, they jerk your chicken, bro. Like, it's no joke.
And it's frustrating because you want to play it all out.
Yo.
You want to,
I just,
those moments.
I think I just got a connection.
I'll wait till y'all go to sleep. I'll wait till y'all go to sleep. 11 o'clock, I go on the patio and I just look up at the moon and I'm just like, Lord, like, are you hearing us?
Where you at, bro? Yeah. Oh my God.
2 hours later, like I had that, like a depressive moment, at like 7 o'clock. Y'all wanted something and I had to, suck it up and, be like, I'm good,
right.
I'm all right. And then when y'all go to sleep, I go 11 o'clock, I'm like, check back in with myself,
People in the backyard punching tree branches, like, what's wrong with you? Like,
I'm cutting the grass with scissors.
Oh, shoot. My gosh. Whoa. People frying water. Like, what? But that frying water, boy, that's a whole level of, but you mentioned something really key. And there was a quote that I had read one time as far as like reading the room and knowing the individual who's going through something, and when they're down, I think the quote was like a friend, a real friend is someone who can look you in the eyes and see that you're hurt while everyone else believes the smiles on your face. And it's like, oh my gosh, and that's exactly what you exemplify. And yes, I know there are times where, if I'll be honest, like fear, like I think folks always tell you, be strong, you got this, hoo, ha, ha, hoo. And it's like, my God, like I'm human. Can
like I said, we're not robots.
Yeah. Am I allowed to be human? Like, like this is scary because I'll be real. I mentioned this on the first episode that my whole experience with the whole kidney thing did not just stem from this alone. Like I remember when I was a kid, there was somebody that I knew, a family friend whose husband was on dialysis and he died. Like as a kid, hearing that, like I connected dialysis to dying. And so when I heard CKD and how dialysis is like lurking around that, I thought it's over. You know what I'm saying? So the fear of, imagine for a second, us building up all of this so far, we've come so far, people may not know the full length of our story, but we know it and we've come so far. We've built so much. We have so much riding on everything that we have done so far, even to the point where our son, Brian, he's here now. I can't imagine what it would be like if one of us should our flags should just go down. You know what I'm saying? Like that would be so devastating to both, either one of us, even to Brian, so honestly, there's a lot riding on this. And so sometimes it's not that I forget my faith. It's not that I forget who God is. It's just,
you're human.
I'm human. And I think God gives me the right to feel these things so I can go to him, so that is, I appreciate you sharing that portion of it. But then, with all of this stuff, it's not just us that are in this fight for CKD. We know that we do have some supports, that are around us at times. So let's talk about those things for a second. For me on the Instagram, I always talk about, big up my medical staff, the care team who's been solid, whether it's, Dr. Hayes or Heidi Pearson or Dr. Everett, and I could name them all. But how helpful has the medical team been in supporting both of us, so far?
I would definitely say from the jump, I've been impressed.
Yeah, facts.
And that's a lot for me to say because I'm very particular,
Yeah.
especially with the care that we have gotten in the past
Oh, yeah.
as opposed to now. I'm very particular. When you got discharged in, I would say what are we, 2020? I would say 2023.
Right.
Before you got discharged from the hospital, I went through, I don't even know how many different nephrologist names, different primary care names before I was like, okay, I think this is the one that I need to choose. I'm very particular. I look on reviews. I ask other people in my circle to see what would be best because we can't afford any more mess ups.
Right.
One wrong move, one wrong person telling us just use this or that can mess up every single thing.
Yeah.
And you were high risk. And so I wasn't about to play no games when it came to that kind of stuff. So that has been very helpful. So once we figured out this is a nephrologist that you needed, and the moment that we met him, it's like I knew right away, this is the guy.
Yeah.
And then it's like God used him to help us find the other people that we need to be on our team.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Most definitely. Big ups to Dr. Hayes and Sunshine Kidney Health.
Dr. Hayes, it's almost like when you throw a pebble, in the water and there's like a ripple effect. And it was that continuum of care throughout and everybody's on the same page. You're not going in a room and trying to tell them what you did with this doctor and that doctor. You're not reliving the moment with a different person. Everybody's on the same page. They read your chart before they came in the room, so you don't have to restate your story. That was one thing I noticed when we were doing in the past. We had to share the same thing over and over, and it just made me realize that they didn't read nothing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And let me just break down real quick how effective Dr. Hayes has been. Okay. Me and Shauntae walked into his office day one. He started going over the educational piece. We let him know hey, look, we already know what's going on, bro. We just need help. He immediately got me a room at another hospital. He got me a room and everything. All I had to do was pull up and he already got me into the room. I stayed there for med management, for blood pressure control, and they were scheduling a biopsy. This is Friday. Saturday morning. I know you remember this. Saturday morning at like 6 in the morning, like 5:45, 6 a.m. You know who's standing in
He
my
got there
room?
before me.
Bro, he's in my room, waking me up, telling me good morning, how I'm doing. He left his whole house, which was like around 30
In
miles
Claremont.
away. Yeah, 30 miles away, and met me at the hospital at 6 something in the morning. This guy has been there every step of the way, and he was the one who got me plugged in with Heidi Pearson. I'm sorry if I'm going off track, but I just got to say this, all right? Heidi Pearson of the Kidney Transplant Institute in Tampa General Hospital, all right? This woman, I would say, well, this doctor is, or the surgeon rather, is, from what I can see, well renowned. Okay, not world renowned, well renowned, I would say, maybe world. She's completed many transplants. She's done a lot of fistulas for a lot of CKD patients, and maybe she's done other organ transplants. He let me know that he's going to try to connect me with Heidi Pearson, but be mindful that Heidi Pearson can sometimes be booked months, I mean months in advance before anybody gets to see her. I got to see him that same day where he told me that. I got scheduled with Heidi Pearson that next week. And from then, the kidney care and the transplant stuff has been on fire from then on. So again, Dr. Hayes, bro, if you ever listen to, I'm gonna give it to, I'm gonna send him this link when we get to my next appointment. But I just want to give you a big shout out for your support in helping me and my wife navigate this route. I never knew about it. I don't think we knew about what nephrology was until we got the diagnosis.
We had no idea.
Right. So big ups to you, bro. You've been super tremendous and instrumental in all of this. So yes, the medical team.
And in addition to that, because we didn't know about it, it made us realize, like, a lot of people don't know about what a nephrologist is. So when I started sharing your journey, all of a sudden,
Yep.
other people had questions.
Yep.
And was like, oh, this person is dealing with this blood pressure. And they have a primary care, but they didn't know that nephrologist specifically deals with kidney, and the kidney controls the blood pressure.
Big facts. That was an eye opener because we're always
So
taught that, it was the heart or, yeah, the heart plays a part, but the kidneys is the main character, bro.
And the best professional person to go to, professional doctor, is a nephrologist.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And a lot of people don't know that.
Oh yeah. So take that, put that in your pocket somewhere. Hold on to it. All right. I guess the next piece is, we have the doctors in place. I guess I would ask, if we could be transparent for a second. And this might be hard, but what kind of supports do we have in place as far as family, friends, and maybe community resources? What does that look like for us? I mean, I could say it, but for you though, because a lot of people go to you, to text you. They don't even text me to check on me. They come through you. So what support systems do you feel like we have in place or maybe not have in place?
We have a lot of supports in terms of, like, friends. Like, I know when everything had happened, a lot of people from, I would say, Lake County reached out and provided a lot of support to us, babysitting, especially since I had to go to Tampa a couple times when you were admitted. So getting that babysitting help was essential, and because I didn't want Brian to see you in the hospital like that. I don't think that it would have been helpful with his growth to see his dad go through that, or see my emotions when I come through the door, see you hooked up to all kinds of machines. I think even like with family, our family is like in all parts of the world.
Yeah.
So us being where we are right now, it is kind of hard, but I could say like even his dad moving here has been helpful.
Right.
And this is the latter part of stuff. In the beginning, it was hard because we didn't have as much hands-on. And then in terms of checking in, a lot of people check in, a lot of people, call or text to see how you're doing. I think that where where we are, it it does kind of hurt us because we're further up in Florida
Right.
as opposed to a lot of people that might be in Central Florida or
Mm.
South Florida, so
Right. Right.
being further up from everybody, it does take a toll because not only am I playing the role of working full time, being a caregiver, you know, you're trying to figure out your appointment, you're trying to be a dad, you got to take care of the home,
Yeah.
so there's different roles we're playing, and we're playing all these roles at the same time, but after a while it does burn out. It does cause a burnout because it would be nice to have more family around.
Mm. Yeah. And
And
that.
I could say like in the sorry,
No, I
in
was.
the
You're
beginning,
good. You're
like
good. You're good. Because that struck a chord that I think
yeah.
a lot of people can kind of infer, but let's just say this: don't assume that just because they're quiet and not on social media crying that everything is great. I think that's all we need to say there. A lot of times it can be lonely. And yes, people do a good job of reaching out. And I've talked to many folks who have CKD. I have the receipts. Every time I talk with someone with CKD or any chronic illness, whether it's COPD or any other inflammation or this autoimmune system, they always say that a lot of times, folks can or have the tendency to, not necessarily, they feel forgotten. And it's not to say that everybody has forgotten them. And I get it. We all have lives that we're leading. But then it's those folks who also wish they were in the fun, leading a life as well, or moving on and doing things like going to work and, traveling and stuff. Those folks they're sometimes put in a corner, or families are put in a corner, and they just kind of like look out the window. Like it reminds me of being in the hospital when I had pneumonia, and I'll say COVID pneumonia. Like my lungs was like almost dead. I remember looking out the window and seeing people walking, going home to their car from the hospital, and I was like, I wonder if I'll ever get to do that. You know, so yeah, it can be a very lonely place. But then I'm thankful for the people who do reach out. I'm thankful for the people who do stay connected, the people who are actually in it. You know what I've also realized too?
And
Um,
thankful for the people that actually visit.
yeah, visitations are heavy. It's not just hospital beds. It's coming to the home. It's coming
Come
to
to
all
the
of that
house,
stuff.
I'll feed you.
Yeah, we got food, we got watermelon, we cook chicken, we got oxtail and stuff cooking on the grill, but not on the grill. Oh gosh, I'm gonna get burned. I'm gonna get burned in the jerk chicken. All right, anywho, we finesse that.
Still on it.
Dog, kill me, dog. All right, but you know, so it's all of those things are important, and we're not saying do that all the time because nobody needs to be tended to 100% of the time. We don't need to be babied, and I don't think it's a call to be, to have people come around per se. Like I don't need 10,000 people lined up at my front door by tonight. But I think it goes to show that sometimes it's good. It's a good feel to to be checked in on. And shout out to the people who do. Shout out to the people who remember. And shout out to the people who want to be with you on the journey and not just know what's going on in your life. Because I know that there's a duality there. There's people who wanna be a part of the journey, and there's folks who just want to know about your journey and not be a part of it too. So there's that as well. But no indictments. Let's keep it rolling. Boy, I need therapy, bro. But anywho, let's talk. Let's do one more. I guess supports question. As a caregiver, are there any support groups like online or in person that you participate in? I know Facebook has a ton, or there's little circles and stuff like that. Are there any groups that you're a part of?
I just found some on Facebook and Instagram.
Mm.
I thought it was pretty cool. I found one where this young lady was helping her mom go through dementia,
Okay.
and and I thought that was pretty cool because I, I don't think there's a lot of groups like that. And
Mm.
then she starts talking about the different, like toll it takes on health, on a caregiver's health, and how it's important to check in with yourself or connect with other caregivers too,
Right, right, right.
because it's really important. I Those are the two main ones that I found, and then there's this other guy that, let me see, I don't know. Those are the two main. It's called Happy Health Caregiver,
Mm-hmm.
Happy Healthy Caregiver,
Is that on Instagram?
and yeah, they're all on Instagram. The Dedicated Caregiver. I thought those. I don't know. I love reading or just watching their videos.
Right.
And then even on Facebook, they have a couple groups where it just talks about, are you even checking in with your own health? Because as time progresses, the stress that it takes on your body,
Mm.
taking care of somebody else, you might not be checking in with your own self.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it kind of gave me a eye opener, because a lot of times people, would ask me how I'm doing, and I'll just say that I'm good, but I'm really
Mm.
not.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know how to.
Articulate.
I don't want to articulate it or just unload that on people, because like I said, I read the room,
Right.
and so that might not be the best time to unload all that with somebody. And I'm just I think for me, I'm a one-on-one quiet coffee shop type person, whereas I'm not gonna unload my business just, you know, right there in the middle of somewhere
Well, welcome
while
to the
everybody
Brew. I'm glad that you're on the
is
Brew.
having fun. Like, I just, that's just who I am.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then also I'm particular about what I share. Like you said, people want to know just to get info, but do they really, really care,
Yeah.
about what load you're carrying, so to speak?
Mm.
But in any case, I just found some groups on Instagram, just typed in caregiver, and a couple of them came up, especially after COVID. There's a lot more groups
Right.
that have been opening up, where people have been creating like this content here. A lot of people have been creating these content just because of how much, a lot of illnesses out of COVID has impacted us, and we need
That's
more of
true.
these podcasts that support caregivers
That's
as they
true.
go through this journey as
Yeah.
well.
Oh, caregivers, man. I can't stress it enough. Like, a lot of folks think that, the folks who are navigating, the folks with the tag of the many diagnoses like myself, we're the main characters trotting through the journey, and everybody's watching us. But I will say this, the people that you need to be watching the most is the one who's behind that person with the diagnosis. Because if I'm on Instagram, or if I'm sharing something or some kind of content, I'm not sharing it just off of my strength. I'm sharing it because, the caregiver, my wife, she's the one who has given me what I need to stand up to be able to do these things. Like it's not even me. Like a lot of the things I wouldn't be able to do it by myself. And what's amazing is I could not imagine going through this journey being alone. Like my heart goes
Mm,
out to anybody who has, anything that they're going through, and they are they're going through this alone. They don't have nobody to talk to. They don't have a friend. They don't have a spouse. They don't have a dog. They don't have a cat. They don't have a parakeet. It's just them, and they're navigating it. And I can't imagine how quiet and how lonely their world is. And for me being myself, being a social individual, like for me to be navigating these waters by myself, I think I would self-destruct. Because I would be consumed in the grief, I would be consumed in the sadness. Like my depression levels would be skyrocketed. And so again, I can't, like, since we said I can't articulate how appreciative I am of your courage as a caregiver, as my wife, as I would say even as my friend. Because you have played such an integral role in my success so far, that I don't even know what to say. It's just been that amazing. Let's go ahead and talk about, the future. All right, let's talk about the future. And, we've covered so many different bases as far as like, what it's like, the ups, the downs, the emotional connectedness, the times when it's hard. How do you stay focused? How do you get connected? Support system. But the future, what are your biggest, I guess, what are your biggest fears or concerns about the future? I mean, there's so many things that can happen. Nothing is a for sure. What are you? And I know this is going to be a little bit on a teary side of things, maybe. But if you could articulate, like that word articulate, we're going to coin, that's going to be word of the day, articulate, guys. If you don't know what that means, go ahead and look it up in the dictionary right now, articulate. What are your biggest fears or concerns about the future as far as, the CKD process, maybe transplant, maybe, dialysis, my stage 4, maybe going into stage 5. What are your biggest fears as far as that?
I think my biggest fear is trying to manage everything.
Yeah.
Because like you said, if you don't have a consistent community, the load can be heavy. And
Yeah.
I want to make sure that I'm as present as possible. But on the other side of it, I want to make sure that I'm taking care of myself.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And so that is a very hard thing to balance, especially when you're really concerned about the future. It keeps me up sometimes. It makes me worry a lot about like how things are going to work or how are we going to manage when it comes to that time for you to do the transplant. Managing life as a whole, just trying to keep the normalcy for Brian.
Oh yeah.
That is something that I always worry about.
Yeah, trying to keep his childhood intact. Yeah.
Yes, make sure that he's having fun and doing different things on the weekends with him to kind of balance out the hardness of this stuff.
Yeah.
And so that he's not just remembering his childhood merely going to Tampa General or going to this clinic, but trying to even it out, and for ourselves as well, making sure that we're keeping that balance as well. And it is hard.
Oh yeah.
As we navigate through this. So I think that's something I always worry about. Always worry about like the different procedures that you have to take every time that you have to go in, what that would look like. Everybody's like, oh, well, he's just going to draw blood.
Yeah.
The amount of times this guy has drawn blood, I'm like, I don't even know where else they're going to get the blood from. And stick the needle in your big toe. And
gosh, what kind of sadistic, what torture device? Hey, look,
but
man.
I'm just saying, it's like, okay, I don't even want to see any more needles. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
That's where I'm like, at what point in the future am I going to be like, okay, this is a lot,
right.
you know?
And just so you guys
Yeah.
know, the when I was getting screened for my kidney genome, they had to draw out 14 vials of blood to do a study of my blood type and how my kidney functions. Is 14 really thick vials of blood. And they just told me go home and drink a lot of water. So it is a lot of blood, y'all.
Yeah.
Um,
So
man,
that, balancing everything is, as like I said, I'm a planner. So when I don't know that how things are going to work, it just makes me very overwhelmed.
mm,
And
yeah,
I got to make sure that I, I check in with you and let you know how I'm feeling as well, so that we can lean on each other.
for sure.
There's nothing like feeling overwhelmed alone.
It's not
You
fun.
you got
Yeah,
your thoughts and I got my thoughts. And so, but if we come together and be like, hey, I need you to help me with this. You got your strengths and you might be able to see things differently than I do and vice versa. And so we just navigate it day by day.
yeah. That's good. That's good. That's good. Shauntae, it's been so good just to sit here and talk with you. I mean, I do this all the time, but I think it's good for the peeps to kind of hear us, just kind of dish out and kind of prick each other's brain and talk about things together and, as a couple. Um, and I appreciate your time. I know you're going to go back and binge watch your show on Netflix and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Like, I'm not going to be there. I might go off and, do some other stuff. That's all good. But, I do appreciate your time with me on the brew. And as you just wrap this up real quick, I just have one final question. What advice would you give to other caregivers in similar situations? Or maybe it's not CKD, but just caregivers in general.
Make sure that not only are you taking care of others, make sure you're taking care of yourself.
That's a good
Um,
one.
Take care of yourself. It is important to check in with yourself. Do something that you haven't done for yourself in a while. And you're not being selfish. You know, you're actually, you're nourishing yourself. Make sure you
Mm.
do that. And ask for help. If you need help, ask for help.
Oh, yes, that, ask for help. Make sure you're taking care of yourself first. Um, all those are good. Well, again, Shauntae, thank you so much for taking the time. To chill with me for a little bit and not just a little bit. We chopped it up for a good little while. But thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing some of the stuff with me. A lot of stuff I wasn't privy to. A lot, because I know you hold in a lot and I see it, but it was good to hear you say it. Um, Now I know how we can progress forward. And trust me, I'm going to take this to heart and move on with it. Peeps, whatever you get from this, please take it with you. Again, we're no substitute for therapist advice or medical advice. Please consult these professionals if you have questions in regard to your own situation. But this is just what we're navigating through. This is just what I'm navigating through. And we hope that you can take any piece of evidence here into your journey and take that into account. Again, thank you for joining me today. This has been the Brew podcast. I almost said the Brew podcast. Again, I'm your host, Mr. Cool Beans. I am on Instagram. You can follow me at Mr. Cool Beans 2889. That's MrCoolBeans 2889. You can follow my wife Shauntae if you want to. I'd say follow her anyway because she has some funny stuff, some good stuff on there. At Hurdle Wizard. Her handle is at Hurdle Wizard on Instagram as well. She's also on Facebook, Shauntae Mondesir. And no funny DMs. All right. I'll be a bloodhound. Don't do it. All right. But thank you again, guys. Thank you guys. Thank you guys again for joining in with us. I hope this is the start of bringing in a lot of other a lot of other interviewees. I want to sit down with a lot of other folks. I know some peeps down here that can share some really great information, some really good insight on their journey as well. So this is the start of something big, and I can't wait to see you on the next time. So, ladies and gentlemen, peace out. It's been great. Catch you on the next one. Peace.